Hello friends anglers, in this video there will be 5 DIY projects for winter fishing. The first ice is slowly starting to form and soon we'll be out there fishing. To do this you need to be prepared. I'm going to tell you now friends about 5 simple DIY projects that proved to be really awesome during last season's winter fishing. It was a revelation for me and I didn't think these DIY projects could catch fish so well. You see, I already have a bunch of tackle in front of me and there's the tool with which we will do all of this. So let's get started. The bomb, or as it's called in other regions. The boulder, it's a very effective tackle. In my opinion, about 90% of its effectiveness, guys, out of 100. It's just a crazy tackle and in my opinion the dumbest one. I don't understand why the perch takes it. Everything is made quite primitively. It's pretty simple. What it seems is there for the fish to take here. There's nothing for the fish to take here, but perch bites. Pretty much loves this thing and just throws it at it. Now I'm going to tell you what you'll need for this tackle and how to make it as easily as possible. The cheapest and easiest way, I'm sure someone in your family, whether it's your mom, grandma, my sister does bead weaving, and I think everyone can find some beads at home. If not, you can buy them either at a sewing supply store or at a fishing shop, but they'll be more expensive there. We'll need red beads, black beads, and some small heat shrink tubes from wires, such as, whether it's black, blue, red, or any other color, guys, we will need it, such as now. Beads. The main bulk of the beads is red. That's the exact color we need. It will be the most. In this tackle, the hook you use is very important. It should be small in size. Well, for ultralight fishing and with a wide ring, the wide ring this eye must be, guys, essential. So the tackle will work more effectively. How is the tackle made? It starts with the hook. We take the small red beads and carefully fill the shank of the hook with these small red beads all the way to the very edge, gently. I want to point out right away, pay attention, the beads should move freely on the hook, they shouldn't fit tightly on it. It should move around freely there. Now that we've almost filled it, the entire shank of the hook is filled with beads to the very edge. We're putting on some black ones there. We've ended up with a color that resembles a maggot. The beads move around freely and easily. There you go, and at the end there's a black bead. Now we secure all of this with our little silicone sleeve. It doesn't matter what color it is. You have blue, red, and black. It doesn't really matter anymore. Guys, the main thing at this stage is that the main thing is that your bead moves around. It should have some freedom of movement. See, it's moving around for me. Basically, if you put it on too tightly, you won't have any space left for the silicone sleeve. It shouldn't be that tight. Your silicone sleeve should be slightly higher here to the sting hook at the same time so that your beads walk freely. You see, it moves freely, has a free movement. It is better to remove one bead than to just squeeze them tightly. Guys, for this kind of rig, you need 3 of these hooks. With this kind of bead, 3 hooks and a weight. Now I'm going to tell you how to make a weight for this rig in the simplest and cheapest way possible. For this rig, the easiest way to make a weight is indeed from these so-called sliding weights for summer setups. Our task now is to take a weight and using a utility knife, carefully cut it exactly in half. Lead is a pretty soft metal and a utility knife handles it easily, guys. It can handle it, guys. Yes, it does require some effort, but it's very simple. Now, to make everything aesthetically pleasing, nice, and not snag on the line, we need to smooth out the sharp edges using a file. Once we've adjusted our weight, the next step is to use an awl or another tool to make a hole here. Here we have a through hole. For assembling this tackle, I recommend use fishing line, but somewhere, my friends, with a diameter of 0.20 to 0.25. It's best if you have the opportunity to use fluorocarbon. How we assemble this tackle is we take the first hook, making sure the point is facing to the left. We thread the fishing line through it. We take our weight and thread the fishing line through it. And we thread the second hook through the right side with the point. Oh, so this is what we have, friends. This is how it looks. In short, this is what we end up with. You see, it's moving and circling. Now we need to tie a knot here from the edge. Well, I stepped back a centimeter. Take shoftel. Here we tie a little knot. So we have a little knot here at a distance of 3-5 centimeters. We cut off this short end. Now we take the third hook, and to it, friends, we tie a piece of metal that has the same diameter as the main tackle, guys. Now, an important point, we need the third hook. We need to tie this with a leader line, so that the length of this leader is 5 to 10 centimeters, no more than 10 centimeters. At the same time, so that when we lower it down, it doesn't get caught on this knot, you see. So it needs to be attached at that height. But that's it. The super catchy bomb tackle is ready. I don't know, guys, why it's called bomb. Most likely, when you hit the bottom, it creates silt, which attracts perch, surprisingly drawing in all kinds of fish. This top hook is the most effective. It will make this tackle, in my opinion, guys, you definitely won't regret it. Also, write to me, thanks. I'm serious about the dropper rig. This one will be for catching perch, specifically. I have a lot of fishing rods right in front of me. What kind of rod should I use for the bomb rig? The bomb rig requires a stiff tip. I recommend using a rod like this, designed for winter jigging, with a mount for a small non-inertial reel. The bomb rig will work best with this rod. Guys, seriously, I'm telling you, this kind of rod with this kind of handle, yeah. But I don't have a small non-inertial reel, so I want to buy one for myself. For that, I'm going in e-catalog. And now I'll check what reels we have there. So, e-catalog, I'm going to the fishing and tourism tab. Let's check out the reels here. So, in the selection of parameters, I will set the size of the spool, less than 1000. It definitely needs to be that way. And the reels, well, this one looks decent, right? The prices are $9.89, $9.70, $1,200. What a difference between the stores. So, let's compare it with some other, say, the cheapest one, to see if I'm overpaying. Indeed, regarding the quality of the reels, let's add to the comparison and see what the cheap reel shows. One bearing, guys, oh, it's expensive. The gear ratio is 2. They have different capacities, and of course, different weights. You know, guys, I don't want to buy a completely cheap reel. It seems to me that in winter it's only for one time, so I'll still stop at this reel, and thanks to the e-catalog, I was able to choose everything. If you're interested, the link to the e-catalog is in the description below this video. The first ice means a feeding frenzy for perch. This jig surprisingly performed really well last year, guys, and you can catch quite a lot of perch with it. The jig is made from regular lead pellets, standard summer weights, and fishing hooks. Hooks can come in different sizes, of different quality. They can be steel, or they can be red, painted, yellow, or any other color. But I recommend using either a steel hook or a red hook, because the red hook probably reminds the perch of a maggot, and they tend to bite better on the red hook. Here are the two hooks that I'm going to use today. As you can see, they are very small. One red one, one steel one. Here are the pellets. Pellets of different colors, different sizes, guys. And you can use these small pellets to make a jig of the right weight. So guys, what are we doing? We take a pellet of the right weight for us and our chosen hook, in this case the steel hook, and we just place the pellet on top of our hook, press it. I have a soft pellet, so it's pretty easy to squeeze it with my hands. So we end up with this simple jig. To keep the hook from moving around, see, it should sit firmly on the pellet. Well, let's squeeze it all together with a tool, of course. We take the second hook and squeeze it into the pellet just like we did with the first one. Friends, now if you want, you can paint our jig with some bright red nail polish. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. We take the nail polish and cover our little ball. It turns out to be quite an interesting jig. It's made quite interestingly. The second jig can be painted with this green fishing fluorescent nail polish, which will glow in the dark. To everyone's great surprise, you only need a tiny drop of polish, and it spreads all over the pellet. To avoid holding the jigs in your hands while they dry, you can carefully place them on a little piece of paper. After a few minutes of drying, the polish has completely dried, and we ended up with two awesome jigs. Just look at these two awesome lacquered jigs we made. See, right now they're at 0, 1. The next one is the simplest and at the same time the coolest. An effective DIY project is a bobber for ice fishing. Guys, we know that there are a lot of different Kiefkopfs quality, different thickness, but the simplest knot at home can be made from car coupler. There will be many other knots that I will make, but the simplest and the best knot to date is this one made from car coupler. It's pretty easy to make, literally, I don't know, in just a few seconds. For those who don't know, this is what the tie-down straps look like. They come in a package like this. There are tons of them. The tie-down straps come in different colors and sizes, guys. They're always useful around the house for various tasks. In my case, I have black straps and a white strap. I think that a white strap will blend in with the snow and won't work well for the bobber, so it will also need to be painted with nail polish to create some contrast. And the black strap will be just what we need. It's just a little thinner, and now we're going to make a bobber from this strap. Here I have an ice fishing rod and a regular tie-down strap. I guys love long bobbers. You can adjust them, and with a long bobber, even the slightest nibble, like from a light jig, will bend it. When laid out, it will be much more visible. We just take this edge of the strap and literally cut it off. We managed to make the bobber in just a few seconds. Guys, here it is, our beauty. Now we just take the ice fishing rod, and here in this little rubber piece we insert our bobber. Well, that's it, almost everything is ready. We just need to make a small hole right here at the edge of the bobber. To thread the fishing line through it, you can use the same awl or needle or a heated object. Again, at your discretion, if you really want, you can paint it green or with red nail polish so that it stands out clearly. The tip itself, having just made a small hole, is just right for a line diameter of 0.10 to 0.12. It will fit perfectly in there. We've made some jigs, but we also have more jigs. Where should we store them? We need to make some kind of case for storing the jigs. The easiest way, friends, is to make a case for storing jigs from some old school pencil case. Here I have my old school pencil case. I don't even know how many years old it is since I found it. Here it is, and with its help we will now do a stand for the jigs. Little box. What do we need for this? Here's the insulation. Look, it's foam, it's soft, so foamy. It's so soft. This will be a good filling for our case. Or Chinese packages also come with this kind of insulation. It's also dense and it's better suited for our case. So we need some kind of soft base to poke our jigs into. Now we take our case, place it against this thing, trace it, and cut out the shape of our case from this material. You know, guys, there's a saying, fisherman and hunter, bad worker. In short, I couldn't find it. I'm going to use a marker to trace everything with a regular pencil. Now, using scissors, we cut out our shape. That's it. I've got this thing that can fit into the case. Adjust it, and it will fasten easily. Now our jigs will be stored here safely. We can take the jigs from one side. On the other side, just look at how many different jigs fit into this case. Can you imagine if I filled it from both sides? You see, the jigs don't fall out. I shake them, knock them. All the jigs are in place. Nothing is falling out. We just take them and slide them into the case and zip it up. Guys, I want to tell you about a DIY project that we made last year with my dad. It was his idea, and you know, I didn't believe in it, but then when I felt it, it really works 100%. This is a homemade heater. Tense in winter while fishing. Without heating, we know it can get pretty cold, but with this little pot that we made with our own hands, you can stay warm for about 10 minutes. Guys, well, if there's not a strong wind, it feels pretty comfortable. So what is this thing made of? This thing is from a pump. A pumping station. This is what the pumping station looks like. And when it becomes unusable, some of its elements, as we know, remain. Here's this thing made of stainless steel, this little pot. It has an outlet on the top and an outlet on the side. As you can see, what did we do? We drilled a lot of holes with my dad and inserted copper pipes into them. Here are the copper pipes. So inside, we have a lot of copper pipes. There's no forced airflow, no fan or anything like that here. No, it's just this pot, which is pretty lightweight and takes up little space. How does all this work for me? Look, I have a small portable gas stove. This is what it looks like. I don't know, well, the camping stove is on the side for a small canister or from a portable canister. Yes, a big one. We're setting up the stove, the tent, like this, setting up the stove. Here's the grate. We place it on top. So this is essentially a homemade heat exchanger, you could say. And on top of this heat exchanger, to avoid using any heavy pipes, we just bought a flexible duct. Here's the flex duct. And with this flexible duct, guys, you really don't need to bring much with you. You don't need to drag big bags with you. You just took a saucepan, a stove, and put the gas on and turned it on. So this edge, we put the tent up. This edge, we just put it on the stove. That's it, guys. I use this homemade heat exchanger at -5 to -7 at minimum. So I set it to the minimum. The stove this way. The temperature in the tent is comfortable. Honestly, I haven't measured what it is, but it is quite comfortable. I'm sitting to take it, but in the participation in the jacket, then I can only be in fleece, and that's it, that is. And taking off the jacket, I take off my big pants jumpsuit. I'm sitting, so to speak, in thermal underwear only in the tent when it's -10, -15 outside, and I add up to half of that. Here's the canister. It's a regular one. As for the camping ones, no, not yet. I'm just dreaming about it. It's a regular 400 milliliter canister. It's just a regular canister. 227 grams, 400 milliliters. I said a regular canister, 227 grams. And this canister is enough for us for 2 fishing trips. Well, if it's cold for about 1.5 light days, roughly speaking about 12 hours, 227 grams. This thing is enough to keep us warm. This thing has 2 holes. One on top for the pipe, one on the side. At first I thought that carbon monoxide would be coming out of here. From the side there are holes, and we need to seal it with something. But when we tried it in the tent, you know, you can see there's a draft, and all the gas that gets burned, all the smell goes out through the top of the tent. It doesn't smell at all. Before I made this thermal heat exchanger, we tried different things. We tried putting in radiators. We need to come up with some other things. Well, it all smells from our little stove. You can hear it. The gas smells really bad. It even makes my throat feel sour. Burning of everything. You know, these are the combustion products of gas, and it's very dangerous. You need to ventilate or your head might start to spin. And God forbid something like that happens to the priest. That's why I decided to make ventilation upwards. It's very easy to do, friends who don't know what to make a heat exchanger from. For example, here's a real tip for you. Take something like this, drill it, and put in copper tubes. So they stick out around the perimeter, and you end up with a great thing that will keep you warm and cozy. In our Polar Bear 3D tent, a 2x2 size was more than enough for 2 people. So friends, that's how our DIY projects turned out. If you liked everything, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to send me your DIY ideas. Winter, write to me on VKontacted, write to me in the comments, guys, and your ideas. I will definitely shoot the next video. I'll tell you what and how and who sent it. So guys, subscribe, like, and comment. I wish you all good luck. Don't get too cocky. And you know, be very careful, because the first ice is dangerous. It's not thick, and it's better to wait a little bit. God forbid you fall through and get soaked. You could get sick at best. That's it, friends. Be careful.